I was listening to an Andrew Tate interview, and I think the story he gave illustrates this very easy and simple, so I'm going to borrow it. The story was when a tiger is chasing you in a group, you don't have to be faster than everyone else. You just need to be faster than the last person. He further went ahead to explain this through a chess analogy that you should always make the best move on the board, and that's how you should approach life. The example he gave here was that there was a guy that was looking for a job, but in the meantime, his best option was to apply to work for someone else for free while he aimed for that higher job that he wanted, that better opportunity. So in that case, that was the best move for him to make for his life, simply because it allowed him to be more active and engaged and keep on learning things in this place that he was while he was waiting for the opportunity that he wanted, simply because it kept him active and it didn't let him be, this stay at home, just wait for things to happen to you. No, you actually take control and try to make the best move for yourself. So the simple concept is that when you are always trying to make the best move and rarely the worst moves, you are always setting yourself up for a better life. Considering that most people are making wrong moves or making more wrong moves than right moves, making the right ones more times than they are simply puts you ahead. And that's what we're going to talk about in this episode. So stick around and let's get into it. Hello everyone, and welcome back to your 5 to 9 job with Raymond. Today we are talking about what working smart is, trying to help us understand that working smart is not always about being the hardest worker in the room, but about making the best moves on the board. So it's this whole train of thought that while people who work hard get stuck in trying to find more hours in the day, to do more work, to be more productive, so that they can make more, in other words, people who work smart keep moving up and finding leverage and using their energy and brains together to actually earn more. So it's not just about productivity and everything, but it's about finding these leverage moments, these marginal points in which you can make more by not simply doing more, but by being better and thinking and then using those leverage points. And an example I talked about in the intro was that if, for example, you wanted to get better like most of us aspire to be, it would be right for you to work hard in killing bad habits and then building new ones. And there are all these tricks, tips, skills, and gurus trying to sell you their process and stuff. But most of us fail to follow those schedules, those tips, and find ourselves in the simplest 6 months after, simply because it's not our cup of tea. But a smarter way to act is to get a few things and just focus on doing that one good thing, making one right decision more than everyone else or your older self. But at the end of the day, you are much better because of the consistency and simplicity. Because people actually think that they are making good moves, but they're actually making the wrong moves. I mean, there is this fallacy in a lot of things that we do. And let me give you some examples. And I am not trying to attack anyone, or just listen to this and help me, or I want to help you to sort of see what I am trying to explain here. So, number one is working longer hours but never learning the skill. Because it is fine for you to put in long hours to work at your craft. But if you're not learning new skills and getting better, then that is simply a thing of working harder and not working smarter. Number two, sticking to a job that pays little but demands everything. If you can't stand up to yourself and you're continuously giving and giving, then that also just puts you in a negative spiral. That is also just making the wrong move. Saving money but never investing. Saving money is good, but with everything that we have learned with inflation, with the changing times, tariffs. When you are not investing, you're actually losing. You get it? So these are just some examples to show you that sometimes you might think you're making the right move, but it's not the best move. There is so much more you can do. So the concept is that if you just make right moves most of the time, if you started to make these right moves more of the time, you automatically get ahead because most people aren't doing it. Most people are just doing the bare minimum, or they are doing what they have been told to do. But if you seek out these marginal improvements and you just start to apply those, you can get better, you can get ahead of them simply because you are making more right moves than they are. So enough with the hype. How do you actually do this? How do you start today to work smarter than everyone else? I have 3 ways for simplicity, and if you can focus on these consistently, I know that they will help. The first one is to stop confusing effort with results. Just simple and clear. Stop confusing efforts with results. Just because you are working hard doesn't mean you are being effective. It goes all back to this Denzel Washington thing. Just because you're doing a lot more doesn't mean you're getting a lot more done. And he explains it in this way of you could be running, but you're running in place. You get it? You're doing more, but you're not getting a lot more done. Effort and results, completely different thing. So ask yourself, is this leading me to progress, or am I just tiring myself out or trying to show people? This whole thing of fake productivity actually fits into this point well. Trying to show people that you are busy while not actually getting things done. And this one, I want to personalize it because fake productivity is more in the workplace and you're trying to show people that you're busy or not. But this is an internal thing. You're trying to show yourself that you are busy while not actually getting the results that you need. So anyway, number 2 is to use leverage. So the smartest people in the world don't just work hard, they use systems, they use teams, they use automation to multiply their effects. They use leverage, they use other people's capital. That is how the guys at the top are at the top. They don't just use the natural born skills that they have, they leverage smart people, they leverage smart skills, they leverage in technology to automate things, they leverage capital, debt to get ahead. So you need to use every sort of leverage that is around you to actually get ahead. Don't just play the game. Make sure that you are winning at the game. You have the queen, you have the rook. You are doing much more than just using the pawns on your chessboard, because trust me, every player at the beginning of the game has all the 16 players. So if you're using only your pawns and your opponent is using their rook, they're using their bishop, they're using their queen, those pieces are at the front line, you're going to have a harder time winning the game simply because you are not setting yourself up for success. I'm sorry to use a very complicated chess analogy, but it just really came to me right now and I thought it was a good path to take. Anyway, number 3 is to make strategic moves. So don't just work, position yourself, learn, network, put yourself in places where opportunities happen. Make strategic moves. It is one thing to work in an area or in a place for 20 years. Yes, you are a good employee. You are rewarded once in a while with bonuses and everything. But if you're not networking with the people that your service providers, the big people that come to your office to see the boss, if you're not putting yourself in places where the opportunities are going to happen, you're not finding marginal ways to improve how the company operates, and then trying to decrease the distance between your desk and the CEO, let's say, because the lower you are, the farther your desk is away from the CEO's desk. So if you're not putting yourself in opportunities where you are closer to that desk, maybe not even to your CEO's desk, but to that C-suite search, you can start to interact with those kind of people. Because trust me, when you get into the environments that the chief technical officers are, the chief financial officers are, you start to see a whole array of opportunities that you definitely can't see in lower management. So make those strategic moves, those strategic partnerships, learn, network, and push yourself there. Position yourself. Don't just work. Make sure that you are intentionally thinking about where you want to be and then how to get it. So let's just get into detail about them, though I had already gone on a rant on a few of these, but I'm just going to touch up on some points that I see I had missed. So number one was stop confusing effort with results, which is literally the myth of hard work. So this grind culture thing that is literally overrated and just keeps people stuck in cycles of exhaustion. Everyone is telling you to grind, but they're not telling you how to do it and actually win. You get it? Smart work versus hard work. The wealthiest people don't work the hardest. They use leverage, like I've told you, you know? And it's all about this whole psychology of the effect. Why we confuse the struggle of progress with actual progress. When people, for example, see that they are suffering, they start telling themselves that this will pay off. What if you are just making yourself suffer for nothing? You get it? So you need to pick a worthwhile battle, number one, and not just be stuck in this whole myth of hard work is what is going to get you over the work. There is going to be hard work and then there is going to be smart work. Make sure that you differentiate between the two. And then the second one was to use leverage. So high leverage activities like doing more with less. You get it? So have you guys come across this 80-20 rule whereby they're like 20% of your efforts drive 80% of your results? So it is one thing to work hard at an 80% task that is going to drive 20% of your results. And then there are those very few people that are good at working hard at the 20% of their efforts that are going to drive 80% of their results. And you will see, let's say, you will see a CEO or a CMO focus on one thing and obsess about it. And you're like, okay, you know what? There are so many other things that the CEO could be doing, but he is deep in paperwork on this one thing. Why? Simply because he has identified that that is the leverage point that where he could focus his energy on and actually get that 20%. So you need to identify those parts in your life. For the podcast, it might not be that I need to put out more episodes. I need to do what? Maybe I just need to focus on writing the script. That is just 20% because just to give you an insight, on the podcast, I need to write a script, record the scripts, edit them, then schedule them, then follow up with a short SWOT, everything like that. Now, if to grow the podcast, maybe the first thing I need to do is actually focus on writing better scripts, and that will give me better episodes. It just kind of compounds. Or maybe I already have better scripts and I need to get a better microphone, and that compounds the whole. Or I need to focus on the end part and marketing and trying to push out the episode so that more people listen to it, because this whole part is, you get it? So you try to find those leverage points instead of trying to put out 10 episodes a week and trying to flood the market with volume, because there is also this thing that you can hack your growth to success by just doing a lot more. No, it doesn't work. You definitely need leverage. And things like automation, delegation are going to help you in that. Wealthy people buy back their time instead of wasting it. They delegate, like I said, they automate things. They find ways to use people's skills, but they also find ways to use their own individual skills in the 80-20% rule. And that's what makes them unstoppable. So if you can start to practice the three, you'll be well on your way. But if you are already there and you're looking for more, because I wanted to break down the first three so that they are digestible. But if you want more, here are 5 more that can push you past that plateau. Because even for myself, there was a point where I hit a plateau whereby I was doing some things right, but there was just something that wasn't clicking, and I just needed to find these extra advantage points. So maybe you are stuck, but you have been doing these other things. The first other thing that you can add is that is to use the power of networks and relationships. So these ones, I'm just breaking them down and trying to help you understand that it's not just what you know, but the people that you know. Smart workers leverage mentors, they leverage advisors, and hard workers leverage their own selves. You get it? While smart workers are leveraging other people. So make those strategic alliances. Make sure that you are skilling yourself and partnering with people that are producing results. Instead of working more, partner with people that are going to help you do more. in other words. And then think like an owner and not a worker. This one is more of a mindset shift because, sorry to say this, but employees get stuck in the grind while the business owners are focusing on systems. And that's simply what sets apart entrepreneurs and then employees. You see, rich people buy income streams while the poor are trading time for money. Rich people are buying companies that they can scale, that they can work on, and then produce more income, while the rich are thinking of what better job can I get that pays me marginally more so that I can afford the lifestyle that I have. Rich people like Grant Cardone once said that they don't use their primary income to buy luxuries. They buy investments and then they live off the income of investments. So another thing is just to think like an owner and not a worker. Create assets instead of chasing these paychecks. And then another thing that I just wanted to harp on is this science of productivity and energy management. There is this way in which you can structure your work to things like the Pomodoro technique, whereby you can work in bursts instead of working in marathons. You see, top performers use deep work and then rest cycles to sort of mediate how their work output is. They're not going to work for 5 hours straight or 10 hours straight just because they are paid to work 8 hours a day. No, they're going to have sections and sessions actually, whereby they do productive work and then they rest, they play, and then they come back, and it sort of helps them to keep this balance between productivity and the whole work-life balance, in other words. So make sure that your productivity and your energy management is actually top form. Another one is execution over perfection. Most people are going to get stuck in analysis paralysis, but the top guys are always going to execute before they overthink anything. They act like Jeff Bezos. You act, and if the decision of making that, if the weight of making that decision can be reversed, then just go through it. He has this, I think it is the two-way sort of management, something like that. I am paraphrasing, but he says if a decision can be made and then reversed, then the better option is to make the decision, try it out, and if it doesn't work, just come back and say, okay, that was a wrong decision, let's try another door. If it's a two-way door, then that decision should be made quick, fast, experiment, and then fail, come back, adjust, change the parameters, and then go at it. Sooner or later, you're going to hit a break, and that is going to be your advantage point. So fail fast, learn fast, and that is how smart workers find ways to iterate their way into success. And then another one is to learn from high performers and billionaires. That is why most of the people are going to tell you, read biographies, autobiographies, read those books about great people, Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, Warren Buffett. Those guys have found ways to leverage their time, to leverage their people, to find loopholes in the market, and you could learn a lot more from reading their books, and it is on a lot of YouTube channels and everything. So find those mentor models that winners are using. What forms of management are they using? What kind of leverage points are they applying? Make sure that you are in that circle and you can actually find ways to make yourself more, to do smarter work, but actually to do more with less. Okay, there was a lot of rambling there, but that's it. Don't add these 5 before you actually have worked on the first 3, but I'm very sure that the first 3 are very exhaustive and they can help you to actually work smarter. And just remember that we are in all this trying to build a smarter work lifestyle simply by protecting our mental clarity, so that this distraction frees you up to focus more on those 80-20 activities that are going to help you to gain that leverage. So by doing this, I hope that you will avoid the burnout, you will find ways to work smarter and not be overexhausted, and you'll find ways to be better than everyone else simply by doing more right things than wrong. If you found this episode helpful, please share it with someone else. Please like, comment, and follow the channel. Otherwise, from me and the team at the 5 to 9 job, I hope that you will always stick to consistency because discipline beats motivation. I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.